Welcome, students. Now I'm going to teach you the pattern of the rebellion. Uh, the mutinous soldiers, they were following the same pattern of revolt against the English East India Company. The pattern that they were following means the from the East regiment, that is from the Barakpur regiment till the Merit regiment, all the mutinous soldiers, they were following the set pattern, and according to that they were working, and then they were uh, attacking on the British officers. So what was the set pattern of rebellion? If one were to place the dates of these mutinies in chronological order, chronological means according to the date wise from what happened first till last, it would appear that as the news of the mutiny in one town traveled to the next, the sepoys took up the arms. The sequence of events in every cantonment followed a similar pattern, means the pattern was the similar. Now what was the exact pattern was that a bugle used to be a sound of bugle used to be made, and then they started attacking at the British officers, and also attacking at their houses. So their set pattern was the voice of the bugle. Okay, how the mutinies began. The sepoys began their action with a signal. In many places, it was the firing of the evening gun or the sounding of the bugle. They first seized the bell of arms. So what was bell of arms? Bell of arms was the place where all the arms and ammunitions were kept, and they after hearing the bugle, the sound of the bugle or the shooting of the rifle, then they used to plunder the bell of arms, the place where the arms and ammunitions were kept, and then after that they started attacking on the British officers. Everything, the jail, treasury, telegraph office, record room, so everywhere, whichever thing was associated or whichever people were associated with the British, with the English East India Company, they were all attacked by these mutinous soldiers. Okay, so these all mutinous soldiers, first of all they were following the set pattern, and they were working according to it, and in that set pattern bugle used to be first of all a bugle used to be made, and then with the voice, hearing the voice, they used to attack on the bell of arms and plunder all the arms and ammunition, and then they used to attack on the British officers. Okay, and all those people who were associated with the English East India Company. Now so this happened in the month of May and June. May and June means, as I have already told you, that this revolt started after the in Barakpur regiment, after the Mangal Pandey was executed, and then it is spread in the month of May to the other parts of North India, especially in the regiment of the English East India Company. Okay, now what was the lines of communication? So this is topic 1.2. The reason for the similarity of the pattern of the revolt in different places lay partly in its planning and coordination. It is clear that there was communication between the sepoy lines of various cantonments. After the 7th Awadh, irregular cavalry had refused to accept the new cartridges in early May, they wrote to the 48th Native Infantry that they had acted for the faith and awaited the 48th order. Means, first of all, the mutinous soldiers, they refused to use the infield rifle and the cartridges. And second thing, first of all, the sepoys, who the cavalry soldiers refused, and then later on the 48th regiment of the infantry, they also refused to use these infield rifles. Now, Sistine and the Tehsildar. So this is an script. Now, what this script is saying, that in the context of communication of the messages of revolt and mutiny, the experience of Francis Sistine, a native Christian police inspector in Sitapur, is telling he had gone to Saharanpur to pay his respects to the magistrate. Sistine was dressed in Indian clothes and sitting cross-legged. A Muslim Tehsildar from Bijnor entered the room. Okay, so it means they were all linked with each other. Even some of the Indian policemen who were employed in the English East India Company police station, they were also helping these mutinous soldiers. So this is an instance which the Sistine, who was the Christian police inspector, he has whatever he has experienced, he has told with this. Okay, then now the pattern of the mutinous and the pieces of evidence that suggests some sort of planning and coordination means, first of all, they used to make a proper planning, and then they were all linked together, they were coordinating to execute this planning. Okay, so how the plans were made? First of all, it is difficult, means no documents are there, but captain hearsay of the Awadh military police had been given protection by his Indian subordinates during the mutiny. The 41st Native Infantry, which was stationed in the same place, insisted that since they had killed all their white officers, the military police should also kill hearsay or deliver him as prisoner to the 41st. So only the hearsay, who was very popular among the Indian soldiers, he was only given protection by his subordinate. Rest all the British officers were killed by the mutinous soldiers. So when the mutinous soldiers, they asked to for the they wanted that hearsay should also be killed. So when they asked that he should his custody should be given to them, then at that time, those who were very much liking him, they refused for that. Okay, so it is saying that the military police refused to do either, and it was decided that the matter would be settled by a panchayat composed of native officers drawn from um, each regiment. Charles Ball, who wrote one of the earliest histories of the uprising, noted that panchayats were a nightly occurrence in the Kanpur सिपॉय लाइंस. तो कानपुर में जो कैंटोनमेंट एरिया है, तो वहाँ पे पंचायत लाइंस में जितने भी सिपाही थे कानपुर में जो प्लेस थे, वो रात में बैठ कर के उनकी बैठकें होती थी. और 1857 में जो रिवोल्ट हुआ था, उसमें वो आपस में ये डिसाइड करते थे अब आगे उनको किस तरह से उस रिवोल्ट को आगे बढ़ाना है, एग्जीक्यूट करना है. ओके, नाउ वो हु विच लीडर्स वर इन्वॉल्व्ड, you can see Rani Lakshmi Bai and then Nana Sahib. So Rani Lakshmi Bai, why she was involved? Because her territory has been annexed, Jhansi was annexed, on the ground of doctrine of lapse, as Gangadhar Rao, king of Jhansi, died without giving a biological son, and so the adopted son was not considered the legal heir, and finally the the Jhansi lapsed into the hands of the English East India Company. So this infuriated queen, she rose against the English East India Company, as her territory Jhansi was taken away. It was seized by the English East India Company. And then Nana Sahib, he was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II, who had been deprived of his own territory in Maharashtra. So they settled down in Bithur, and they were sustaining life through their pension that they were receiving from the English East India Company. And when Nana Sahib was also refused the pension on the ground that he was the adopted son, then finally he also took the initiative and he revolted against the English East India Company in the revolt of 1857 with the mutinous soldiers, and from in Kanpur. Okay, so Nana Sahib, you can see here, at the end of 1858, when the rebellion collapsed, Nana Sahib escaped to Nepal. The story of the escape added to the legend of Nana Sahib courage and valor. Okay, now to fight the British, leadership and organization were required. For these, the rebels sometimes turned to those who had been leaders before the British conquest. One of the first acts of the Sepoy of Meerut, uh, as we saw, and was to rush to Delhi and appeal to the old Mughal emperor. So Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was compelled by the mutinous soldier to participate, as Bahadur Shah Zafar was dispossessed from his from the throne of the Delhi, and he was also refused that his sons will not be the legal heir, but still he agreed to this because he was not so capable to fight with the English East India Company. But when the mutinous soldiers of Meerut reached Delhi, and they declared Bahadur Shah Zafar as their emperor and also the leader of the revolt, then he did not have any option left then only to be on the side of the mutinous soldiers. Okay, and then who else was there? Uh, Bahadur Shah. First reaction was one of horror and rejection. It was only when some sepoys had moved into the Mughal court with the red fold in defiance of normal court etiquette that the old emperor, realizing he had a very few options, agreed to the nominal leader of the rebellion. Then second was, I have told you, Kanpur, the Nana Sahib. The sepoys and the people of the town gave Nana Sahib, the successor to Peshwa Bajirao II, no choice then to join the revolt as their leader. Okay, then Jhansi, the trial was forced by the popular pressure around her to assume the leadership of the uprising. So was the Kunwar Singh, a local zamidar in Ara in Bihar. So zamidar he was, because at that time mostly due to the permanent settlement, the zamidaris were snatched away and they were again auctioned. So it was a great defamation to the royal zamidars, and so they also rose against the English East India Company. So even many zamidars and talukdar joined the revolt. So Kunwar Singh was the one from Ara in Bihar, and then Lucknow. I have told you that Wajid Ali Shah, he was also dispossessed from his from Awadh on the grounds of the governance and misadministration. and but he was liked by all the people of the Awadh. And so when he was dispossessed, then it was not liked, as he was very popular among the people. And then his wife Begum Hazrat Mahal wanted also that his son should inherit the throne of Wajid Ali Shah Kidris, but when they were refused by the English East India Company and their territories were annexed, so Begum Hazrat Mahal also participated, took initiative, and joined the mutinous soldiers in the revolt. Okay. So this I am going to read in Awadh, where the displacement of the popular Nawab Wajid Ali Shah and the annexation of the state were still very fresh in the memory of the people. For the populace in Lucknow celebrated the fall of the British rule by hailing Bijris Qadir, the young son of Nawab, as their leader. Okay. So these were some of the political rulers, leaders, political leaders who were also the rulers of their kingdom and whose kingdoms were annexed through their policies by the English East India Company. So they were very much dissatisfied, and they turned against the English East, and they wanted to gain back their not only their territories but also their lost prestige. So okay. And then there were peasants also who were very much dissatisfied with the policies of the revenue policies which was imposed to them through the permanent settlement and the Mehalwari settlement. So they also rebelled, like Shah Amal mobilized the villagers of Pargana Beirut in Uttar Pradesh. Ganu, a tribal cultivator of Singh Bhum in Chota Nagpur, became a rebel leader of the Kol tribes of the region. Okay. So here I would like to read about something about about Shah Amal. Shah Amal was lived in a large village in Pargana, Berat, in Uttar Pradesh. He belonged to a clan of Jat cultivators. So even the rich peasants also joined, because they did not wanted to pay such inexorbitant revenue to the English East India Company, and they were also dissatisfied with the revenue policies. So they also joined, because if they were not able to pay the taxes, then they were tortured and they were beaten and they were sometimes sent to jail. So they also rose against it. Okay, so who was Shah Amal? Shah Amal lived in a large village in Pargana Beirut in Uttar Pradesh. He belonged to a clan of Jat cultivators whose kingship ties extended over 84 days. 84 means 84, means 84 villages. Okay, the lands in the region were irrigated and fertile with rich dark loam soil. Many of the villagers were prosperous and saw the British land revenue system as oppressive. The revenue demand was high and its collection inflexible. Consequently, cultivators were losing land to outsiders, to traders and money lenders who were coming into the area. Means those peasants, when they were not able to pay the taxes, to pay the revenue at that time, when they were tortured and they were beaten, so to escape from the beating and the torture, they used to take the money, they used to borrow the money from the money lenders on higher interest. And when they were not able to pay the principal amount along with the interest to the money lenders, then these money lenders, they used to seize their land and they were reduced to the status of beggars. Okay, as they have to mortgage their lands to the money lenders, okay, for getting the loan. So now here I will also tell you about this. Okay. Shah Amal mobilized the headman and cultivator of Chaurasi Des. Okay. As Okay, and plundered the houses of moneylender cultivator display. Shah Amal men attacked government buildings, destroyed the bridge over the river, and dug up the metal road. Means they did all so that the Britishers should not come, and all those who were associated with the Britishers, it can be the money lenders or anyone, they were also attacked by the rebellious villagers as well as the rebellious soldiers. Means they joined them. He also set up an amazingly effective network of intelligence. Means uh, he did everything to stop the British army to proceed over them. Okay. And locally acknowledged as Raja Shahamal, took over the Bangalore of an English officer, turned it into the hall of justice, settling disputes and dispensing judgment. He also set up amazingly effective network of intelligence. For a period, the people of the area felt that Firangi Raj was over and their Raj had come. Shah Amal was killed in battle in July 1857. Then who was the next was Maulvi Ahmad Ullah Shah. So even the Muslims were dissatisfied with the policies of the English East India Company, as the English East India Company also tried to interfere in their religious customs by doing certain reforms which were not liked by the Orthodox Muslims. And then some of the Maulvis, they also rose against the English East India Company and mobilized their people to take active part in the revolt. So Maulvi Ahmad Ullah Shah was one of the many Maulvis who played an important part in the revolt of 1857. Educated in Hyderabad, he became a preacher when young in 1856. He was seen from moving from village to village, um, preaching jihad. Jihad means the religious war against the British and urging people to rebel. Okay. Then you can see this is Henry Hardinge by Francis Garrett. As Governor General Hardinge attempt to modernize the equipment of the army. So he was the one who introduced the Enfield rifle. Who introduced the Enfield rifle? Henry Hardinge. In 1849. Okay, and he was the Governor General. Hardinge attempted to modernize the equipment of the army. The Enfield rifle that were introduced initially used the greased cartridges the sepoy rebelled against. So this was the immediate cause, as I have already told you about the revolt of 1857. So this we'll do it in the next in my next lecture, about how the Enfield rifle, introduction of the Enfield rifle, which was introduced by Henry Hardinge in 1849, was the immediate cause of the revolt of 1857, and which what rumors were spread. So rumors, you already know that the rumors were that the cartridges were smeared with the fat of cow and pigs, and while insulting into the Enfield rifle, the soldiers have to bite it with their mouth, and so the fat of the cow and pig used to go inside their mouth, and this spoiling their religion, because you know that cow is considered as sacred animal for the Hindus, whereas pig is a taboo for the Muslims. Fine. So will this continue with the next lecture of mine. Thank you, students. Hope you have liked it and have you understood it fully.